see the puzzle in it. So it's hard to say. I think this is MJ saying we got to get our asses rolling.
2 seconds later.
Jesus Christ, Dave, that was good shit you were talking about. I hope you bring that back up.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, guys, welcome. Yet another week. I'm pretty excited about this one. I've got some old friends coming on, and I've got a co-host this week, Krista from her Sunday show.
Hey, guys.
Grant and Mary, Rec Room Ball Pythons, can be joining us. These are old friends of mine from the Carolinas. All the RepCon days would always be us getting drunk afterwards with guys like Limey, Ted Williams, Mac Robinette, Daniel Allison, always shenanigans. But they've put a lot of time into the paint project over the last 10, 15 years. And really, we're going to dive into paint all day or through this entire episode. Let's go ahead and bring Grant and Mary in. We got them on standby? Perfect. There it is. Well, like I said, you guys, I can't even remember what year I met you. I want to say it was probably around 2008. It had to be sometime in the or early teens, right? When did we meet?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, take it. So how about this? Not a lot of people know you, or some people know you too well. Tell me about what you guys have done in the hobby. Give us a little intro, what got you in, and just how you got to here.
Well, I mean, I started with, I had a science teacher that had a corn snake that made me want to get a corn snake in junior high. That was my first snake. Had that one for about 12 years, did everything wrong back then, kept it on sand with a hot rock and still managed to keep it for 10, 12 years. Didn't have another snake until Mary got promoted to manager at Petco, and she was going to take over the fish and reptile department, and she wasn't sure about snakes. And I said, well, the best way to get over your fear is to get one, take care of it, because you fear what you don't know. And then that ended up turning into the first time we bred anything was albino prairie kings. And then we started with corn snakes and king snakes, got into ball pythons, hatched the first ball pythons. It was a clutch of 8, 4 normals and 4 pastels. And then she knocked me out of the way and took over.
I like it. I like it. So you guys were in California and then you guys moved to the Carolinas?
Yeah, we moved out here in 2006.
Okay, were you guys were already breeding then in California before you came here, right?
Yeah, we were doing we bred albino prairie kings once, and then we moved out here and we sold everything before we produced anything else out there. But when we came back out here, we got real heavy into the corns and kings, and milk snakes and just about every colubrid you can find.
Yeah.
Okay. So around what year did you go from heavy colubrids to heavy ball pythons?
It was kind of a
2007, 2008?
Yeah, I think we got our first ball python in 2007.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was, yeah.
And we've got a pastel, and I want to say we paid like $1,000 for the pastel.
Yeah.
And then we had we bought some adult female normals, and or one actually, and we bred her, and we had her up until, was it last year?
Yeah, yeah.
She was an adult when we got her, and she was wild caught. I don't know how old she was, but she just passed away last year. But we had stopped breeding her for the last 5 or 6, but we weren't going to get rid of her because of sentimental value.
Yeah, I respect that. Graziani, when we talked to him like 4 years ago, he had a female ball pipe that I want to say he had for like 28 years. And the year that we talked to him, which was about, I think I said 4 years ago, he was breeding the original pastel import male to that original female. He made the very first clutch ever of pastels. And there were a lot of people like fiending to get these normal pastels 20 years later just because it was the originals that started all the stock in the industry outside of what Kevin McCurley did. So, you know, it's funny coming up, you know, little things we'll start with on those codoms. Now everybody's got it too easy. Everything's so fucking nice in ball pythons now compared to what it was back then.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, well, let's get ready to paint. When did you guys get your first paint ball python?
Actual paint or
Let's go
well,
the
'cause
moment you bought in.
that was around 2011, we think. Yeah, we did a trade for what was supposed to be a quote unquote paint. Never proved out as paint, but
Yeah, back then we never got a super out of it.
Yeah. So some people know on that project, but we just started calling it recessive, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years.
yeah.
Limey, who, you know, helped us quite a bit, told us to start treating it recessive.
Mhm.
And he told us that 2014 probably.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
And
Okay.
he had proved that it was compatible with Sentinel. And
Yeah.
Sentinel was listed as recessive as far back, I think, as 2016.
Yeah.
Something like that. But as soon as we started treating it recessive, we started making forward
Zoomers or
momentum.
individuals.
Okay. So you guys mentioned it. What was the founder's name of that project in the Carolinas?
Charles Gillespie.
Okay. And the story that I had always heard back in the day was he found 2 animals in a pet store that had alien head markers, maybe near the neck or on the side. And he had bought those animals, bred them together, and made the first paints, or the super paints. And because of that, we thought it was something that we could always identify. But like you guys know, and Limey knew for a lot of other people, these things are hard to ID, especially when you start putting other genes into it. It's not obvious, but on some, they're very high expression heads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But same with clown and pied and, you know, almost all your other recessives. Certain times you get high expression heads.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. And even genetic stripe. I feel like genetic stripe hats always have a certain way about their pattern. Like, I don't want to say a bubbliness, but they always just have a look where they stand out in a group.
Yeah.
But all right, so you guys got in, like you said, 2011. What was the year when you guys first made that calico yellow belly paint that you brought out to the Charlotte show? Was that 18, 19?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was.
Yeah, it was
right
right.
around there.
Yeah, because it was pre-COVID. Like I'm 100% certain it was before COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell the story because it was really exciting. I wish I would have sent you guys the image beforehand, or Krista, so we could show it off. But Sunday morning, you guys came out to the show, and you guys took them right out of the egg, right out of the incubator, still in shed, and that blew everybody's mind at the Charlotte show. And in a way where the ripple effect was Limey and a couple other people at the show that had those animals on the table started pulling them off their table in that very moment, because word got around that fast about how nice those 2 animals looked that you guys brought with. And I really think that was like the first moment where the paint project really started collecting some notoriety in the hobby, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You couldn't give them away prior to that. Nobody wanted them.
No, for sure. And I've actually heard of people that gave them away because nobody wanted them. And, you know, I think the thing is we had so many options. And for a recessive, it was a cool recessive, but nobody knew how to treat it, I guess is the way to put it. They put yellow belly in initially. And after that, I spent the last 3 days stalking the internet for paint pictures, and there's nothing out there. Like, there's hardly any combos. Krista, you put some time in. You came up with half of the ones that we were able to find. You guys are nice enough to send us a couple ahead of times, but like, couldn't even find a Desert Ghost paint out there yet. And I mean, those were two projects that 8 years ago were arguably $200 animals until they weren't $200 animals anymore. Well, how about this? So after you guys made the Calico Yellow Belly, what were some of the initial hets you started making after that? Because we talked Bongo a little bit after that. You guys were early on Blitz, and I think Ernesto might have done Tricks early on. Tell us a little bit about how you guys started developing the project after you saw that animal.
Well, of course, we did spot nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do everything spot nose. So.
Well, the industry always goes spot nose. Now, here's my honest thing about that. I'm not a big fan of spot nose in the project. I think leopard and spot nose are probably two that I don't think it's going to make our best animals. I think we get so used to the spot nose being good and everything else. I don't know if I love spot nose paints. For each their own, not my favorite. You guys can argue me on it.
It's not the best combo, but I think it'll prove to be necessary for certain combos that are you're just going to blow everybody out of the water. I think the fire spot nose clown paint is where it's going to be at, because after seeing the fire paint clown, I think adding spot nose to that.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Why don't we talk a little bit about the paint clouds? Because we're going to jump around like crazy. We got a bunch of images to show up too.
Yeah.
Krista,
You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, let's bring up the cinnamon side by side with the normal cinnamon clown just to kind of get the ball rolling on discussing what this project can do now. I thought side by side would be good for this because, first off, I mentioned you guys when I was at Tinley, I was talking about these animals with a lot of people. And, you know, right away, like, you know, the fire clown, I love that animal. I love what the pattern did. I love what added to the side. You know, before we kind of got going, we talked about clown ball pythons and puzzle ball pythons, and we'll get into that in detail later. But everything about the clown is on the dorsal, and everything about the paint is low in the animal. And the fact that they kind of balanced out a little bit where you're still able to pull some side pattern out on that, I thought that was a really good looking combo. Did you guys have any suspicions what it was going to look like out of the egg, or were you just guessing?
Just guessing.
I respect that.
Honestly.
Yeah, we made just a normal paint clown prior to that clutch, and honestly, I wasn't
too overwhelmed by
Nah,
it.
not really. But when the fire and the cinnamon came out, I was like, holy crap.
Okay. By the way, Krista, I am dominating the conversation with my rants. I will get you in, I promise.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just here kind of listening, bring up the pictures. Let me know if you want me, you know, toggle off or, you know, just let me know.
This is perfect. Okay, so here's why I think the cinnamon paint is the best thing that's happened to this project so far in the clowns. All that side profile. You know, when you look at when the Pompeii hit the industry, on all the genes you had to stack into a clown to bring all that side pattern back, you guys just did all that with just adding paint. And when you start adding the yellow belly, and we'll say maybe the red stripe, I don't know about spot nose still. I'm going to hate on that, so I see one that really blows me out of the water. I'm sorry.
And that's
I really,
why a lot of people hate on the spot nose still. I mean,
yeah, it's not that I want to be mean. It's just, here's the thing. You know, the comment I always make is I don't give up on something, but sometimes you got to surprise me. And, you know, early on when people are making lavender pies, I think Justin did the pewter, and it took all the pattern away, kind of made it a little lighter, kind of made it just not very desirable. He's put a lot of years into making that pewter, but I'd like to believe when he saw that animal, he didn't ever bother doing it again. Like, he understood that there wasn't enough pattern, wasn't enough color. He walked away from it. So I do think that the paint project's going to have some things that, in my opinion, aren't good. And there's plenty of time to go back to the shitty combos later and try to refine them. I think there's a lot of things that we could focus on now. But, man, do you have any other pairings this year where you have any other chance at cinnamon clowns?
not with paint, no.
Okay. Okay. What other are we allowed to talk about? Something you might have cooking, or you don't want to jinx it? Because I believe in the jinxes.
I totally believe in the jinxes. Trust me. Like, nothing that
We
I
don't
can
have
think
to.
of. No.
You can keep secret if you want.
Well-
You got no other paint clown.
Yeah, I have no other paint clowns in the incubator right now. The last paint clutch just het for paint. Just hatched, which was acid.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's what I talked to you in the past about too. I think those are going to be absolutely fabulous, and I actually think that's going to be one where when you have pastel in it, also, you'll probably make a better animal. Maybe. All the acid stuff I've seen in pastel and super pastel, I feel like it really rattles up the sides a good bit. And then of course when you get the yellow belly in there. So, like I said, another one that I feel like it's hard to make a nice paint is the pastel. I've seen a lot of bad pastel paints, but I've seen some that have been 10s. I just think they're rare.
Yeah, the super pastel paint looks really nice though.
Okay. The super pastel speckled clown looked really good too. Do you guys remember that one?
No.
I don't know if I got us an image over. I might have sent you a screenshot, might not have, but it was posted in the Sentinel group. And we talked beforehand. You got the paint, you got the Sentinel, you got the speckle, you got the Neo, which wasn't ever proven compatible, but looks very close to that. And there is one other project out there that looks like it's the same thing right now. Got an African name to it. I can't for the life of me remember what it is right now. Can you guys explain Mogwai to us a little bit? Because that's something I've been seeing pop up. And I know it's something that came out of Limey's group.
Yeah.
Explain that to us a little bit.
So, Limey has a weird wild-caught
Yellow
belly that never really proved to be yellow belly, if I remember correctly.
No, it did.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it's yellow belly, but it's obviously got something else in it.
And we started. So we were drinking, talking about the snakes one night, and he started talking about that weird yellow belly, and the male that we used, the visual male that we used to basically produce a lot of our other visuals and hets came from that animal. And we're seeing some that were really bizarre. And we started coining it Mogwai. Or he did. He did.
Yeah.
But he meant to say something else. But so we just kind of stuck with that. He
was trying to call it the thing from the Jungle Book.
Mowgli.
Mowgli, yeah.
Okay. Both work.
And then I've been hearing other people. I've seen videos of other people talking about the Mogwai, and I guess they'd been talking to Limey as well. And we do know that it's not just with paint or
just with
yellow belly, because we've made ones that pop up. Well, it's kind of associated with paint.
Yeah.
Everything that we've ever seen it in, that we've seen it in, has either been a het paint or a visual paint.
But it just adds a lot more reds, and it makes the pattern a lot more speckled and just kind of really like breaks it up.
Can it be just paint Mogwai, or does it have to be paint yellow belly Mogwai?
No, it can be paint Mogwai, because we have some that are without yellow belly.
We suspect that cinnamon has got whatever, that cinnamon paint clown
possibly has Mogwai in it.
Yeah, but we've never really tried to figure that out. But
I know Limey did a pairing this year to try and figure out the Mogwai gene, see if it has like a super or not.
That's what I was going to ask too. If I've heard of the super, but didn't know if one's been made, not or yet. So
yeah, based on his photos, it looks like there probably is a super, because it definitely has a different look to it.
Okay. I will say that, when you look at standard paints, there's some that are 3s and 4s, and then there's a lot that are 10s. I mean, there's a big gradient in those animals. So, I was kind of wondering if there could be like some kind of enhancer in some of those, and the Mogwai could be considered an enhancer for the paint project. But anything that adds more noise to the sides, I think is a good thing. And Matt Robinette had a couple animals over here from animals he received from Limey that, had Mogwai in it. and side by side, they don't even compare. Like you said, there's this hint of almost like an orangish kind of rust going on there. Pretty stunning animals.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure. Trying to think where I want to go with this. So a little more just on, well, the history of it. It really was kind of like a disregarded gene for a while there, and the guys in the Carolinas really were the only ones that stuck it out with that project, outside of people that invested in Sentinel, and then again the Speckle project, which you just don't even see anybody label anything Speckle anymore that I see.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that.
Well, for years, we were actually using our female paints, not for the paint, for making other codoms that we wanted to more of, like back then, bananas that were selling real well. We would put a banana to the paint and just sell it as a banana because nobody wanted this stuff. And bananas were selling better and for more than the paint stuff, but we wouldn't get rid of our paint stuff because I kept saying that we need to come back to it because it's a recessive, and
just got to find that right thing to
really
bring it out.
A good recessive holds its value a lot better than any of the codoms, and it takes longer, and it's more rewarding when you finally hit like on a double visual recessive because it's not that easy.
Yeah.
No. So again, Desert Ghost fell to the wayside. No one saw any reason to put it into anything. Then all of a sudden they went from $200 to females were $2,000. And I feel like the same thing was paint. It had that $200 to $400 mark. And I think females went up to a little over 2,000 there around COVID, maybe a little after.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. And I think I even saw in Justin's video when Ernesto came by to drop off the clown paints initially, I believe he had mentioned that an early paint was offered to him for around $30,000 and he passed on it. And I believe what he said was even though he passed on it, looking back at it now, that project did take a long time to fire up. And by fire up, you guys have about 10 combos now. So you're really fucking killing it. Yeah. I mean well, but I've never had so much trouble finding anything. And, the comment you made, Grant, about it was more valuable to treat them as normals and breed a banana to them 10 years ago kind of tells you what that project was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was going to be my question on why it's kind of taken so kind of long to now get in the limelight. Maybe that's because how it was being worked, but I don't know. That's just curious.
I think that was part of it. Also, part of the problem is that it was being treated as a codom for so long, or incomplete dominant for so long, and people were selling stuff as paint that wasn't actually paint, and people weren't producing the supers. And so kind of the same way with the Desert Ghost, it was just kind of a bad marketing.
Yeah.
So
I do agree with the marketing aspect. And I do think the fact that it went from a codon to recessive overnight definitely didn't help the project either. I mean, still to this day, I have trouble labeling codoms when you mix them together, let alone pick out something you could even pick out, but didn't even know you couldn't pick it out back then.
Yeah.
So I do think a lot of that had to do with it. Now I will say this. I know there are people out there working on the project, and me going back to saying that Justin picked up a clown, it's a huge advantage when Justin gets a thing like that. You guys remember, you guys started doing spot nose clowns very early in the game, spot nose pewter fire clowns, things like that. And that was before even spot nose clowns really were a big thing in the market.
Yeah.
And
Justin,
even though, go ahead.
Justin had just made the spot nose clown popular because I think it was Rennick that made the first spot nose clown, and that was years before we started going towards the spot nose clown. And like the year before our hets were up to size, Justin made the spot nose clown, and everybody went crazy. And then he made the Batman, which then everybody had to have the spot nose and the leopard. And we were just in the right place at the right time on that.
Oh, I agree with that. you guys stick it right place, right time. Ben really loved the spot nose. I don't even think Tracy Barker liked the spot nose that much when she first started making them. And what really was, I think, a deterrent for some people in that project, just in the way we looked at ball pythons back then, was the fact that the super was so wobbly. It turned a lot of people off of the single gene, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I think the paint would be the same way when I look at it. There were some bad combos made early on, even though there was no combos made early on. And honestly, I don't even know if there was any bad ones. I only have two that I need a little more put into it, and that's going to be the Inchies. Because Inchy, you guys remember when Inchy was gold back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Inchy had to go in everything. Everybody loved Inchy. Sometimes I feel now Inchy falls in the same category as pastel and lesser when you put it in projects. It's doing a lot. There are ways, I love the lace Inchy stuff, but Inchy's a tough one because it's going to battle out most things you put it together with. And where, yes, you can see it in the paints, it takes away everything I love about the paints.
Yeah, exactly. I've had this conversation many times with people. I don't like Inchy in paint because it completely obliterates all of that side pattern and just makes everything so blocky. And that's what I love about the paint is that it has all that pixelation, all that wild and crazy pattern on the side. Why are you going to add a gene that removes all that stuff?
Yeah, that's what got me. That's why I like it too. Oh, like the flecking, and you get so much more layers to it than something that's reduced. What other codoms do you think influence it like that negatively besides Enchi?
Orange Dream. I'll
Okay.
probably get some hate for that one, but Orange Dream kind of also does the same thing. Oddly enough, most of your bell complexes, the Mojave ones, the lessers, those all take away everything from the paint. The Mojave especially, because it just brings all of the sides up and just puts these little tiny donuts.
So the stronger bell ones, yes, but Special, Mocha, Russo, I feel like those are all ones you can work in there. And we even talked Russo last week.
Mocha is probably a really good way to go with it. Mocha is a very underrated gene, and it really brightens things up, and it kind of adds more to most stuff. So Mocha is probably a good way to go with it.
Okay. Krista, because Orange Dream came up in conversation, one of the pictures we were looking at on Instagram was the Blackhead Orange Dream paint.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring it up.
And I think there might just be did we have a single dream Orange Dream paint in there? Because I don't know if I want to push back on that. I thought there was one I actually really liked that we saw.
Yeah. Honey, this one we both really liked was this Honey Cypress Yellow Belly paint.
Did talk about that one a little bit, and we'll get the Blackhead. I think the Blackhead was probably the last ones I sent you, I think.
I can bring it back, the Blackhead. This is from DPR, by the way. I think the Blackhead is a little bit down, I think. Maybe? I know it's hold on.
I thought I sent it.
Yeah, I think
It might have been last. I'm sorry, guys. This is dead air. We'll talk about it more. But so when we find when we get this Blackhead, go a little further up. Maybe those are after it.
Yeah,
so
it may be my computer. I can pull it up here in a second. Keep talking. I'll bring it up.
No, you're okay. So
it's right.
I had thought we seen something Orange Dream. We did see something Blackhead. I thought kind of complemented each other really nice. Why didn't you like the Orange Dream? Did you think it took too much away from the paint on the pixelation on the side?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
most of the ones that I've seen, but also a lot of the ones that I've seen have been a combination between the Orange Dream and the Inchy. So maybe that's part of why.
The Inchy's not so much the Orange Dream, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we're gonna do this low budget style, but
oh yeah, I was like, I'm about to bring it up.
Okay, cool.
Now that one did come out nice, yeah.
Good looking steak. We'll bring that up on the big screen, but
and that's Blackhead.
That's Blackhead Orange Dream. But so why don't we enlarge that one first? That I think was just the single gene Blackhead, maybe. And then we'll show the difference with the Orange Dream.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the Blackhead works really well with it. So does Cypress. The Cypress works fantastic with it. I like how it changes the color of it.
No, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I love that stripe down the back. I love that there's still a little pixelation coming inside. You get those real nice bone whites, but the orange stream helped it a little bit.
Did you send him a picture of our bongo spot nose?
Yes.
I
Yeah,
can.
that
pull-
one.
That
That
one's up
reminds me
here.
a little bit of that one. I mean, the colors are different, but the pattern's
Yeah.
kind of similar.
Yeah.
No, I do really love that one. I like the bold stripe on it. Krista, what do you think about that one out of all these?
I like it what it does to the pattern. Kind of gives me like a, I don't know if it's fair to say this, but like a disco vanilla vibe. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
you put those together, it creates that kind of pixelation etching on the side. I like it as a combo. It's probably not my most favorite one, but it brings some variety to the project. You know, you don't want everything looking the same, right? So it's nice that you can have, because some people may like that the best, you know. I like it though.
That's got a little bit of a super stripe look to it.
Yep.
You know, so
Yeah.
but I think it's a good
Base.
yeah, like that you can still add some more stuff to that before and tweak it, and so I think it's got
One thing with the paint project, first off, I love that you said the super stripe thing, because that was the first thing I thought about when I looked at that. And I was talking with a couple other breeders in a little group the other day, and one thing that came up in that conversation is some of the paint combos look like freeway combos.
Yeah.
Which just means, you know, maybe we shouldn't do those combos. We're going to learn a lot of ones that don't work in this project. That's the reality of things. I love this animal. I do agree it looks a lot like a super stripe. I'd probably like it better with spot nose not in there. I'm going to be a real asshole. I'm going to be real anti-spot nose on this project the whole time.
I
I
think
like super stripes.
I think where this is a good indication is because I've always kind of helped steer her to. I like to take genes that like to do the opposite. So okay, the fire spot nose bongo paint likes to do a stripe down the back, and a clown is basically a genetic blackback.
Yeah.
Put those two together and let them try to duke it out. And a lot of times you get some nice looking animals when you put two opposing forces on each other.
Okay, so I like that. Actually, I like that a lot. So what don't somebody I want to look at and bring up? Let's discuss a little bit more about. So when you guys started making the Blitz, was that just because you guys had Blitz laying around and you're like, fuck it, let's do this? Or did you look at that and say, this is going to make it better?
No, we looked at it because we like the wild patterns. You know, back when everybody was trying to do blade clowns, we never really liked the blade clowns. We liked the busy pattern clowns, and we actually made it an effort to not get any clowns with blade. And I'm not trying to say that we were trendsetters or nothing. It's just we're the type that we do what we like, because if you're not working with the stuff that you like, then you get burnt out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Blade Clown did have its moment, and what reflected that was two animals. The Ralph Davis flatline that had to be some kind of super blade, such and such. We may never know the answer to that one. And also, I always say that, I've said this before, Justin making the leopard, when he made the leopard clown, was perfect because it was a perfect blade clown every single time, when the obsession in the hobby at that point was, I want extreme blade clowns. Now, you don't even see blade clowns in people's collection anymore. It's a complete flip.
Yeah, and I think that's due to Justin a lot. You know, because I remember watching videos and him talking about, liking the busy pattern clowns.
Yeah. Justin's influence does us all a favor. I always question this market without him. He markets very well, and I hate to say it, I'm kind of with you guys. I market about this much, and I think that's about as much as I could tolerate sometimes. I love showing off my stuff to people I like, but like, you guys don't see me posting a lot. There was a time where I thought I really enjoyed that, but I don't think I would have it in me to do a weekly video like Justin does. But some reason I have it in me to do one of these podcasts every week. I don't know what the difference is, but I can't take 6 minutes to make a video.
Nah, I hate editing. I hate editing. You know, I just like doing this and woo, it's done.
Yeah.
It's there, you know.
A lot of teamwork in the other thing. But so Bongo. We were at that Fort Mill show and I brought up Bongo to you and you guys both looked at me like I tapped your phone. I've always liked Bongo. I've actually liked Bongo more than Cypress in a lot of projects because I think that Bongo's harder to control.
Yeah.
Bongo's gonna bongo. You might put something together to make sense, and Bongo's gonna say "fuck you" and does sound really funky, and I dig that. Have you guys started stacking Trick, Bongo, and Yellow Belly together to see if it creates some kind of like extreme like granulating on the side, or just kind of have them separate so far?
I haven't not with the paint stuff yet. I'm working on that though.
Okay, that's cool. And like I said, we still have a long way to go. There's 10 combinations out there. I don't expect you to have them all yet.
I actually tried to do a Bongo trick this year, but my female didn't go. So
okay. What's your most excited direction to take this right now? Is your focus more just I want to make the best paint I can, or are your mindset like a lot of others? What other two recessive should I put in, and what do I build from there?
No, I just want to make the best paint possible. I don't care about like stacking the recessives or doing any of that stuff. I just want to make something funky.
Okay. Krista, I don't know if I'm going to give it all away for you, but you got into the paint project this past year.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And do you want to talk about the direction you want to take it?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm new getting into ball pythons in general. Like I got my first one in 2022 and then I started heavily investing in 2023 and I did gravitate towards the paint because it just looked different than your normal stuff. And me getting in and already seeing everybody else that's 10, years ahead of me, I wanted to be in some projects that had a lot of left to do them. And I know there's some risk with that, right? Because it could look totally bad, but I still wanted to take that kind of risk and do something different. That's kind of what drives me to even do this in general. Walking at shows, it's a lot of clown stuff. Nothing really wrong with that, but eventually your eyes just kind of glaze over. I want something kind of pop that would kind of drag your attention that was different. So that's what kind of dragged me to the paint. There was two kind of routes I thought. I like the hypo stuff, but I want stuff that looks really, really good as an adult. And I've seen kind of the hypo looked really good when it was young, kind of same stuff with the clown, but it seemed like some older, they kind of get like a little bit washed out to my eyes a little bit. Look, especially with the hypo, it looks like it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So trying to find something that will maybe keep the contrast a little bit. So I'm actually kind of going ultramel with it. It's a really big strength in my collection that I can then use that to put jeans into it, because if you're starting paint looking for codoms, I think it's difficult when you're looking online. There's not a lot out there, right? Sure, I can get some visual paint females, pick up some hets, but I can use the strength of my collection being ultramel to then put those other codoms into it, blackhead, hurricane, cypress, those type of things. So that's why I'm kind of going with me. And I think the ultramel hopefully will keep that pattern and that pixelation, but just change kind of the color that they can keep contrast as they get older. Because I like ultramel stuff when they're adults. I still think they look really pretty.
I think the ultramel will work good with the paint, because a lot of the paint's a good nice paint kind of has a rusty burnt orange underlay.
That's what I like.
That ultramel will help really bring that out. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping. I got a double het girl growing up and a double het boy growing up, so maybe next season she'll be big enough to pair. So it'll be a little bit. But
and see, we just recently picked up Monarch. We were kind of going in between Monarch and ultramel, and our eye just kept kind of going to Monarch, and kind of the same thing. We're probably going to try to get that to the paint for the same reasons.
Yep.
But I think they're both going to look good.
Yeah, we'll see. That's the fun of it. Not sure yet. I'm sure somebody will make one. I don't know if anybody's will hit one this season or next season, but it'll be exciting to see that hit. So that's just where I'm kind of thinking about. I want to keep that contrast as an adult, and I've seen some adults that just kind of get a little bit lighter for me, kind of lose the pixelation and all that I like as a baby.
So you guys brought up Monarch, you brought up Ultra. You know, Ultra is another project that there were some combinations made over the years, but that's another one where there's not as many out there as there should be. So being in the industry right now, you could pick Monarch or Ultra at this point and probably be caught up to either or within a couple years. I think that some of the Monarch stuff, because it had a higher price tag, got some of the higher end projects spread into it faster. I'm kind of torn. I do think Monarchs look better as babies, but I thought the Ultra color glowed a little more as an adult, but you had a little more contrast in your pattern as your Monarch as an adult. Is that why you guys went with it, for that more contrast later on, or like what was it?
Well, because in our opinion, it's a little bit darker and
brings out more of that caramel color.
Well, I mean, when you start stacking codons and stuff like that, I feel like if you start with a darker base, you can stack more before you lose everything.
Okay.
See, I think, if you take an Ultra to a Monarch, just base on base, yes. The Monarch has a little more, looks like they have a little more burgundy, a little bit darker. But I've seen a lot of combos too with the Monarch where it makes it kind of a yellow. And it kind of creates that kind of contrast with it. But the Ultramel, I can add blackhead or something in it and still get that kind of contrasted look that I want, because I feel like it brings out more of the chocolatey or that gold, those golden tones, not such the stark, golden to burgundy as the Monarch. But that's just my eye. So that's the fun of this, is that it's
honestly, I've always liked the Ultramel. We just had we'd never really invested in either one, and we had the opportunity to pick up a Monarch for a decent price with the way everything's going right now, and we just kind of jumped into Monarch. Other than the fact that we just liked the color just a tiny bit more. But I think they're both. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that they are possibly compatible or something like that down the road.
I think we've already ruled that out. I think RGI and Charlie might have done tests on that, and I do believe that early on in the project, Tom had put Ultra to that just to know, and that was before we had testing. I did hear some other comments about what could be what, but I'm pretty sure completely different, can't be done now. But with that being said, what do they do together? We had the Carmelo back in the day, and honestly, everybody got away from Carmel because of the kinks. If we could go back to making that ruby-eyed Carmelo-looking animal by using Monarch and Ultra, that could be an entire avenue somebody decides to go down in that project.
It's funny you say that. Now that's
why we went for the Monarch, because we really like the caramel albinos.
But and every one of our caramel albinos that we ever produced was kinked.
Yeah,
and the Monarch we thought looked more like the caramel than albino, anything else.
Yep, I agree with you guys. I think it has more of a caramel vibe, and I always did love the caramels. It's not that I hated the Ultras, but I mean, you guys have known me. I've always loved ball pythons. I've never been overly invested in ball pythons. I always spent my money on a boa when I had any money to spend back in the day, and the few ball pythons I bought back then, I got burnt on a lot of stuff. I kind of bought at the teetering end of things like going down, but I should have invested what I liked. I've always loved puzzle. I've always loved paint, and I've always loved DG. You guys remember the Myrtle Beach show? There was a Sean Bradley auction, and there was a puzzle in that auction. And I want to say that was like $600 or $800 for a male puzzle like a decade ago. I think that was like 11 years ago. Big opportunity missed by somebody. And the paint project, knowing Ted, knowing Limey, knowing Mac Robinette, those animals were always there. There was always a deal to be made, but I just never committed to them. And I'm sad, because if I would have just went with the 3 genes I love, that'd be in a whole other place in the hobby right now. Let's bring up, let's show off that cryptic paint, because that was, out of all the things to see before something else, I never thought we'd see a cryptic paint before a lot of other combos.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can see it a little bit. I'm sure people watch this on the computer, but so you guys got to look at that one before we started. You guys saw like the nice like alien heads and pixelation on the neck kind of working its way down. What do you like about that one? What don't you like about that one? You could just love it, by the way.
I like it.
Yeah.
It gives it a very interesting look to the pattern for sure, because it kind of just muddles it.
Yeah.
From what I can see from that little tiny picture.
I know, that's why I thought I should have cut it out of that before I sent it to you. We're now learning. This is our learning curve today. But no, like I said, look at it. I love what it did on the neck. And like you said, clowns are blackbacks. And we talked about this beforehand. And puzzle, that pattern is going to drop all the way down the sides. You know, you guys were talking a little bit about, is the paint puzzle going to look good? We haven't seen one yet. There could be something out there hiding. Who knows? But I think those two are going to do really well together. And I think it's going to make a better looking animal than the clown painted. Because, again, you have all that side pattern to work on. And there's a lot of ways you could add more side pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but here's the thing, though, is that paint gets overpowered by a lot of stuff. Like with the spider, you can't see it at all. The spider paint looks pretty close to a spider.
The super stripe.
Yeah, the super stripe. You can't see it. So
really?
Yeah. Limey made a super stripe paint a couple years back, and you really can't see it. The only difference is the head stamp's a little wonky, but that's really it.
Ivory. I mean, I know that's not any surprise that you can't see it in ivory, but you think of all the genes that you can see in ivory, like leopard and, you know, the inchy ivories and stuff like that. You can see that stuff, but not paint.
Yeah. So, you know, it's one thing I think is going to happen in paint now with it becoming relevant when it is. You know, like you guys talking about putting acid in it. You know, I think a lot of like the top 5 codominant relevant genes, you know, we'll put acid up there still, but I think it's on the tail end. Lace, which is still pretty high in the codon market right now. Redhead, which is all over the place. Redhead paint might be a good one, but that influences the back pattern a little more than the side pattern, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that one might be okay.
Red stripe's going to be a good way to go with it, especially I think with the paint clown. Add red stripe to that fire paint clown.
I think red stripe's a sleeper. I'll be honest. My favorite genes in ball pythons now are the really low expression ones that you can keep stacking and stacking and stacking without overpowering. Mm-hmm. And I think red stripe's a good example of that. Do you want to bring up the red stripe picture that we got from Justin this morning? We could show off. I believe it was. I'll have to bring up the image. You have it on there? It was yellow belly red stripe paint. I don't know if there was fire in that one.
I think so. It should be. Yeah, there's one with spot nose and one without. So this is the one without spot nose.
Okay, and was that fire red stripe paint, by the way, or was that? I can't remember exactly what that was.
This is the red stripe, yellow belly paint, and head clown.
Okay. Granny Mary, you've seen this one before, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. I love how the red stripe and the yellow belly have really brought in a lot more of the rusty colors, and it seems to add a lot of the pixelation more to the sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I still like that golden tone that's highlighted on the back too. Just creates that contrast to the eye. The pixelation and on the back, the blockiness is just kind of creates.
I hadn't seen this one before.
Oh,
no.
I saw
and you said there's one with spot nose?
Yeah, that one. Let me just double check. This is the
it's one right below it. It changed it to white.
Red stripe, yellow belly, spot nose paint.
It's still got the reds, but it's got a white dorsal. I like that.
Yeah, it looks like
I like that more, Dave.
Oh, nose, Dave, come on.
It's a little better. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We're gonna hate a little bit. I'm really a hater on dorsal pattern animals, the way they influence the paint, because spot nose is another one. I understand there's side pattern, but most of what's going on that I feel is more towards the dorsal. And I like all that lower body stuff. I don't hate it. Why you gotta call me out like that? It looks good, don't get me wrong, but
See, the reason we like spot nose, if you look around the dorsal pattern, how black that black is, and if you go back to the other one, it's not nearly that black. And I like to use we kind of like to use that spot nose to increase that black, so you get more of a contrast.
Yeah, I get that. And the spot nose looks like, I told Dave too before this, we were looking at it, looks like little bone pieces. It's so white.
Yeah.
Like bone. So it creates kind of less, like somebody just dropped a bunch of bones and they're all kind of in those little patterns. So it's cool. It's a cool look.
So I like it. And I will say this. No, you guys are assuming what I'm going to say right now. I'm going to say something different. Look at the industry 5 years ago. Look at the industry today. The industry has jumped forward 20 years in 5 years, in my opinion, on what we're building right now. And I will say, when I look at that, I think like a lot of people in the hobby, you know, where you guys are like, I want to perfect the paint. I want to make a lot of good paints. I'm looking at that thinking, wow, DG is going to really accentuate those blacks. It's going to cream out that back a little bit more. If you get hypo to it also, I think you're going to get a very unique like color on the side with the oranges, a darker orange that stays a little more crisp in its life. Like I said, I don't mind tiptoeing in, and I understand that not a lot has been done with paint, but I think the realization is with the way that collections are built nowadays, things are going to happen a lot faster, whoever invests a little bit into the paint now. And I think in the next 2-3 years, we could be seeing 4 recessives stacked in a paint between maybe Puzzle DG Hypo paint or Clown DG Hypo paint, just because it seems like that's the mindset. Everything, like I said, it's moving fast.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's trying to slam as many recessives into it as possible right now.
Yeah, I feel like as a new person, that's what I kind of got drugged into, and I'm kind of starting to refocus a little bit more because you have. I'm new into this, but you have to have a lot of animals, a lot of space to hit those multiple, or spend a lot of money with animals that are already double visual this, hit that. And getting into it, I was like, I don't want a ton of animals, but I still want to do things really well. So at a smaller scale, so I kind of dialed it back a little bit and do more just double, maybe a triple, but that's just me and how I'm taking things.
Well, I think the shed tests have helped a lot. But like our first double heads that we ever made, we saw Ralph Davis's lavender albino genetic stripe, and we were like, oh my goodness, we got to make that. And we made double heads, and then it was 90 eggs?
Yeah, 90 eggs, and 9 years later.
90 eggs before we hit our double visual. So, and the thing is a lot of people that are coming into it right now, like I saw lavender albino pieds at a show the other weekend for $500. So you can get a double recessive for $500. You figure the time and effort. We spent 9 years and hatched 90 eggs. If we could go back and spend $500, maybe that would, But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why everything's going so fast. Like you said, it's.
Well, I think people are hitting on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, people are buying in at where we were trying to hit 5-6 years ago, and people are able to get in at a reasonable price right now.
People are buying time, is the way it's put. Like, people could go the double het route, or people can buy those, like you said, 90 eggs that you guys put in. They can just go out and invest in that bigger animal, have better odds. And like I said, when you talk to the big guys, they're 5 steps ahead of what my thought process is right now, in my opinion, on a lot of these projects. And they've already got the ingredients for a lot of this stuff. Like I said, I just think there's a different bar, and I love adding color to a project, and I think that's where recessives come in. Hypo, DG, ultramelanistic, monarch. I think those are all really good ways to go with this project. And I do think at that point, yes, we'll be talking about the other codons we'll mix in there to really enhance that. But, that's one advantage you guys have, of course. And other people, of course, I know Limey's Collections got some stuff over there we don't even know about. Well, long story short, you guys can bring a Hypo DG in your collection throughout as a male with maybe a codon or two in there you like, and you could be in the triple game. And I understand the stress of how many eggs you'll produce to make that triple. But I do think the reality is people looking at the paint that are getting in now, they're not just trying to go with the basics. I do think they're already thinking 5 or 10 years ahead. And you guys, in my opinion, have a little advantage. So definitely take advantage of it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, we definitely plan on taking advantage of some of that stuff, but there's so much work to be done with the paint that you kind of have to put some of the codoms in it to kind of see where it's going to go with some of them. So that way you don't mess it up when you're putting it into slamming it all into all of these recessives as well.
I agree. And I said the same thing about the Sunset project. There's going to be a lot of people for the next decade that are going to be happy making Sunset combos. And then there's going to be the other part of the hobby that's going to want triple recessive Sunset combos.
Yeah.
So you guys don't mess with Sunset, and you guys can give me your opinion, good or bad. I don't really. How do you feel about it? You like it? Sunset?
Up until recently, a lot of the combos just really didn't do much for us. But I can't remember. I seen a video the other day. It might have been, was it Justin that did a Sunset something or other that was really bright colored?
Might have been.
I think you showed it too. But
Yeah.
He did one about a year ago. I think he hit on like Spot Nose, Sunset, Hypo, DG, and I think it was Heck Clown too. Just because.
yeah,
and
I think that was, and that thing kind of glowed.
Spot Nose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like Spot Nose for some things, but there's some things. Hey, go make me some Spot Nose pie.
We are gonna convert you.
No, I love it, but I don't think all projects. I'm with this. I don't think all recessives should be treated the same.
No.
I think that we should go the route that we should go, and I think when we realize something works with one and not the other, we just got to accept it and move on. Sometimes, Pastel is a good example of that. Pastel clown combos, people don't even really invest in anymore if there's not DG in it. And when I think about the paint not the paint project, but the puzzle project, I love pastel on my puzzles. It looks more puzzly. It is wackier. There's more going on there.
Pastel definitely adds to the puzzle for sure.
Yeah. DG also. I think pastel DGs glow. But like I said, there's so many other recessives that you guys aren't going to go out of your way to make Monarch pastels, are you?
No.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I feel on Spot Nose. I love Spot Nose. I'll shit on it only when it needs to be shit on, and that's the way I'll put it. I accept it, but trying to think. Can you bring up the picture? Because we're going to bounce around a little more because I want to discuss where some of these could go. The ciphers.
Before we get off of this,
go ahead.
Let me ask you, what do you think about paint annex, like a super pastel paint annex? You think that'll look good?
You're talking Xanthic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the thing. I think that Xanthic paints will look nice. I think DG Xanthic paints will look better.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. Let's get there, guys. We're not getting any younger. This can't be a 10-year plan. If we're going to do it, we got to do it now. I think DG and that'd be good. I don't know about a true ghost paint. Maybe, because the true ghosts are beautiful. Chad had some on his table. They were blue. Did you get, Krista, when you walked by Chad's table at Tinley, did you get a look at those?
Yeah, they were really pretty. Someone else had some really nice ones. I forget who they were now, but yeah, they're that project's really cool. It really blue. There's a lot to be done with that too. I just hope it wouldn't lighten up the pattern so much. Like all the pixelation is what I would, with hypo and I don't know. Maybe
that's what I'm afraid of with the Desert Ghost is that the Desert Ghost is going to remove all that pixelation on the paint.
Yeah.
I agree. Now that's for the discussion of Cypress, Blackhead, for you guys, Spot Nose, Yellow Belly, Red Stripe. We need to make the paint 10s every time. And like I said earlier, some paints are 4s, some paints are 3s. But if we know just by putting Yellow Belly or Blitz, Trick, Hurricane, whatever you want to say, just putting that in, if that's going to make my paint a 10 every time, then I'm going to add something else to it from there, if that makes sense. But as soon as I start diluting down what made the paint cool in the first place, that's where I'm going to probably want to take a step back. And, you know, that's where you guys said making the simple ones now will save us time later when we chase it in the triple recessive, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. Which Cypress one?
your favorite, the Cypress Honey combo?
Oh yeah, it's just the contrast for me. Like this is from DPR, so thanks for him for sharing that. But I love like the black outlining and then the orange. Like the contrast is just wild to me. The color, it just that sharp difference. From
Between the
black.
yellows and the rusty.
Yeah, I
and
freaking love that look.
that black on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Let me see. Was this one? This was a bongo yellow belly. So
That was just bongo yellow belly, right?
yep, bongo yellow belly paint.
Right.
Yeah. And then the
So that one was a little bit of a surprise for me. I think that did a lot more because your bongo, just by adding yellow belly, that made it a completely different animal on the one we just looked at.
Sure.
And I think that goes back to talking about how bongo will fuck shit up when you let it fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And by fuck shit up, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, it really changed the overall look of that animal just by adding the one gene.
their bongo paint.
Yeah. No. And here's the thing, that did kind of what I expected it to do when we talked about it years beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think that's one that can be built on clearly. And the Super Tricks, like I said, I love the Super Tricks. I thought that was a good enhancer. Man, I think I did a pairing. I told you guys it's got like Yellow Belly, Blitz, Special, and Orange Dream in it, and maybe Yellow Belly, all 100% head paint. That was probably one of my favorite things that we hatched out here this year, at least for building huts for the future. I just feel like all that stuff will mesh well with it, I guess. Nothing should overpower the next one too much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are could make some really nice paints.
No,
Here's some of the banana too. Some cypress.
Yeah.
This is from an Enigmatic. Shared these, but so red stripe cypress banana paint and just cypress banana paint. So no red stripe in this one.
Well, the red stripe really.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think, because like when you look at like a red stripe cypress clown, right? You really just get that like that line like on the top, and you lose a lot. So I was kind of thinking that well, paint doesn't do that. Thankfully, thankfully I like it keeps the pattern, but
that thing almost looks like a reverse Okati.
Right?
Albino reverse Okati.
It's pretty,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
I do like that.
Yeah, the banana really creates a crazy color. But that's what I'm kind of hoping with Ultramel, it kind of gives that color pop too.
Yeah.
That's maybe not so like banana-y, but
No, I dig that.
so which other ones they show up?
8% that jumps at us because we didn't really get to showcase everything, or maybe we kind of went over most of the stuff they showed.
Yeah.
Well, those are the blackheads again. I don't know if I want to bring them up because we kind of glanced over them earlier.
Did you send him a picture of the calico paint?
No.
No.
I figured they were gonna have that one on there.
I know, right? I really screwed the pooch because I had the original pictures when you guys brought those to the show, but calico is one that I harp on a lot because, again, it's a gene that influences the lower side of the body, so of course it's going to make a nice looking paint almost every single time. But the blackhead, like I said, I dig that. I like what's going on with the sides there. Now I want to try to throw more at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the blackhead worked really well with it.
That's just it's just blackhead paint. It's just wild the look you get just from having one recessive and one codon. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I love, like, again, the blacks outlining the top and then still has all that pattern too.
Yeah, I love how it kind of just obliterated the side pattern and made a lot more of the popcorning and the speckles. I'm big on those. That's why I like the blitzes. The blitz really
cool. what was the next picture? That's the orange stream one again, right?
Yes, blackhead orange dream paint. Cool look, I think. The sides are different to me. A little more pixely, smaller, you know.
I'm just wondering how that one's going to age, though.
Probably do all right.
I mean, as long as those whites stay true on the side, and you always have that contrast, I think it'll probably be a really nice animal. What year was that posted? Was that a 2023 baby?
Shoot, doesn't say, I think the post above is 2021, so I bet it's in that same time range. Yeah.
All right. So here's one thing that I talked to Mary about when we were shooting the shit. Sorry, Grant, we don't talk that much. Everybody who has paints is keeping it like super top secret, but the reality is the people in the project that have the best stuff right now. But I think there are people that are going to catch up pretty fast, just because of the lack of what's been done. And I don't know if this is going to be one of those projects that if the breeder's doing a disservice to himself by not talking more about what he has now and showing things off. But I understand there's going to be some trial and error, and people are going to make some bad animals along the way. Maybe certain combos will save them from doing it, or pictures will save them from doing it. But I think there's a real opportunity, and I think when things are hot in a project, that should be the time where people take advantage and get ahead a little bit, even if we're talking financially. And I generally think, just again, after scouring the internet, there's a lot of stuff hiding out there that people don't want to show off. And I just hope they don't wait too long. You guys know how the trends go in this hobby. Paint could be hot this week, and it could be a $200 animal again in a few days.
Yeah.
And where I know DG came back down in price. Now that was a supply and demand thing. Even with the demand there, the supply was everywhere. Everybody had DGs. Paint. I don't know if there's a heavy supply of paints anywhere in the industry right now. I think people have maybe 10 or 20, maybe 30 in a collection. I don't think there's anybody hiding 100 paints out there right now, unless you guys know something I don't know.
No, the only person I could think of would be Limey.
Yeah, and Limey has the space he works in. I don't think he's exceeded that space, but I haven't seen his space in a long time. I think there's only so much stuff we could do with the room we're given. I hope people start showing off for two reasons. One, I want to see them. Like I said, I've been following the project. I think we should be a little further ahead than we are. But also, like Krista said, new people coming in the hobby get discouraged by projects they can't catch up in. You could jump into paint tomorrow and still do things before anybody does them, because we have 250 codoms that we still have to put in there before we even start stacking codoms.
Yeah.
Just think about it a little bit when you do these, because, again, have you guys seen a leopard yet?
Well, I saw something that was supposed to be a leopard paint, but to me, it didn't look any different than a leopard. So I'm wondering if they were calling it a leopard paint when it was a codom.
Yeah. I think leopard would beat the fuck out of paint, to be honest with you. Because a lot of leopards don't even have much going on their sides and a lot of dorsal going on there. So could be wrong, but that might have been what it was. It just might have been a shitty combo.
Yeah. I mean, because like I said, with it obliterates, like the spider obliterates it, the pinstripe obliterates it.
Yeah.
So it's possible that actually was a leopard paint, but when it was made, it was back when it was a codom. So
yeah,
maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
So we made a leopard spot nose bongo pastel, not paint or anything like that, just a codom, and that really jacked up the pattern, and it's hard to tell that animal is one. Like, it's hard to sit there and go, oh, that's definitely spot nose, oh, that's definitely leopard, oh, that's definitely bongo, because it just totally whacked out the pattern. And it made it kind of look all like stripy and just it's a weird animal. So
like what a tri-stripe should look like.
Just like what you were talking about, bongo. You can't, as soon as you think you got bongo figured out, it throws you a curve.
All right, so I want to go back to Xanthics for a second, because I agree with the bongo curveball. How do you guys feel about the Xanthic? Like, is that thing you guys are working on, or you think would make a good combo?
Yeah.
We're still so we still we're still trying to hit the Desert Ghost annex and the Clown annex, and like we just like annex. I think I think that one's the one that's fallen out of favor, and I think it'll come back, but maybe it hasn't fallen out of favor. I don't know.
I think it came back pretty strong when the DG got put in it. And you guys remember Blue and Sid were making True Ghosts, I feel like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Don't remember them getting that much from in the beginning. I think those animals they made 10 years ago are probably worth more money today than they were then. I like that route, but like we were discussing, do you guys have Yellow Belly in the mix on that by chance? Or no, I'm sorry, you were talking DG Xanthics you're working on right now. Have you guys made double head for paint Xanthics yet?
No, my female didn't go. That was one of my pairings this year, but my female reabsorbed.
Okay. Do you guys always use a paint Yellow Belly combo when you're introducing something new like a recessive?
No, not always. But Yellow Belly definitely seems to add to the paint project.
Okay. I agree with that. I think that Yellow Belly is definitely one of those genes that you can reliably say you're going to make a lot of 9s and 10s. And there's already so many out there. It's, me personally, I only have a paint breeder male. And he's making his rounds, but I'm like literally tiptoeing into the project right now. I wish I had a Yellow Belly paint male because I hardly have any Yellow Belly females. And the Yellow Belly females I have, I feel like I just use to make highways and freeways every year. Sorry, I thought that was open-ended. You guys can make small sounds after I finish talking so I don't feel so awkward. You got to make sure I got to know my screen's not freezing out here, guys. You got to say something.
I think everything on the Yellow Belly complex, even if you're not trying to make the supers, makes every combo kind of better. We've tried to shy away from the Yellow Belly just a touch so that we don't paint ourselves into corners by trying to use more like gravel and stuff like that. But Yellow Belly by itself is a lot more expressive than a gravel, in my opinion. But
the Yellow Belly complex. Oh, I was just saying the Yellow Belly complex stuff. The Yellow Belly is the highest expression of all that. All the other stuff, in my opinion, is really low expression. When we used to make Spectres, it was always the ugly of the two was the Spectre. When you made Gravels, it was the ugly of the two were that. Same with the Spark. So I do think that Yellow Belly is going to give you your best looking animals when you're adding that one enhancer gene.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, though, is if you add a bunch of Yellow Belly to your project, you start painting yourself into a corner and you go, if I breed this to this, I'm going to make an ivory, and then you're not going to see it.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of ran into. Or just planning purposes. I want to keep things small to not small-ish, not put myself in a corner like that. It's hard, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did, and the reason we know that is we did that with fire. Fire was like one of the first genes that we got into after the pastel. The fireflies were just amazing, back then. And everything with fire we liked, and we ended up keeping it because we liked it, and we are our best customer. We keep everything that we like. And next thing you know, we're like, we got to start selling some of this fire, because if we breed these together, we're just going to make white snakes, and it could have all kinds of other genes in it.
No, that's true. It's pathetic to say, but Ben's collection had a lot of lessers in it, especially in his clown project. So I run into a lot of I can't do anything because of it. And then I go and put a cypress into it, and I find out it's honey, and I make a bunch of white snakes on accident. So, when you get stuck in something like that, sometimes it's hard to get away from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, pin drops, guys. Pin drops when I'm done talking.
I'm sorry, it's our first time.
No, it's my fault. It's always my fault. So, and we're really harping on the paint because, again, I really mean it. I think paint is really one of these ones that we're going to see some really great stuff. I just think that not everyone's going to get there. We talked about Sunset earlier for only a second, but like one thing that I thought was funny about the Sunset project back in the day is sunsets were $70,000, and Brian bred it to a inchy, a cinnamon, a fire, a pinstripe, and those were like $100 animals when Sunset was relevant. And he didn't put into any of the really expensive codoms, and he didn't really go super recessive early on. I know since then it's gone a different route. People have started doing a little more with it, but paint's kind of in the same boat. It seems like we went with a lot of the basics. We did the yellow belly, we did the pastel, we did a spot nose. You know, cypress, blackhead, that's gonna be a little different, a little more relevant. But you know, it seems like we always get caught into this thing where when a new thing comes out or a new recessive gets pushed, we go with all these really old school codoms that we don't even really like using anymore. And I've never really understood that in the hobby.
Like the lesser paint?
Like the Lester paint. It's not that it was worthless. Hey, everything needs to be done once. We're never going to know it's going to be bad unless you do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good example. But again, we had to do it. But
just to see what it does.
Well, I think every breeder out there has got one of their favorite, has a favorite codom. And one of our favorite codoms is Spot Nose. So one of the first paint combos we were pushed towards was Spot Nose paint. It wasn't the first one we hit. The first combo we hit was the Calico
yellow belly.
But we were going towards Spot Nose, but we like Spot Nose Calico, and we've yet to hit on the Spot Nose Calico paint, which I think is going to be, I think it's going to be really good. But
I think it's George Sampson. He did some Spot Nose paints and maybe Spot Nose Orange Stream paints. Does that ring a bell to you guys?
Yeah.
Or were those just hats he was making?
Those were hats.
Those were hats. Okay, and those were high expression hats. I don't think you guys sent over a Spot Nose paint picture combo, right? Other than that bongo one?
I thought I did.
Maybe. That might have been my mistake. I got a few labeled. I might have missed that one some reason. Or maybe I hated it so much. I don't know.
I think you missed that one. I know. I'm pretty sure I sent you over a Spot Nose paint.
Okay. I think I was being real bougie and it didn't really stand out to me. And I might have left it.
No, I'm not going to show that.
Well, it's not as it wasn't as nice as the Calico. I mean, like the Spot Nose paint on its own.
It's dark.
And it's not the greatest combo. I like it. It's still nice, but I think once you add like Calico or something to it, then
I agree.
Better.
I think everything sometimes needs a little something extra so it reacts in a certain way. You guys mentioned tri-stripe earlier. Do you think tri-stripe paints is a really dumb idea? Like, do you think everything's so diluted? It's weird because I look at that and I say, wow, look at all that space on the side for the paint to do something. But that gene is already kind of meant to delete all pattern on the side. I wonder if it'd be hard to pick up on.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to see it really. Same if you did it with like the G stripe. I don't think you'd see it in the genetic stripes at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Never know.
It did, but yeah.
If there's any sacrificial lambs out there that want to go for the paint try, we do encourage you. But I don't know if I would
post a pic.
Oh, what was that?
I said, let us know. Post a pic.
Yeah, please do. Unless it's really, really bad. This was years ago, and I'm going to admit to it now because I think it's been long enough. I made a champagne sunset. Ben had already had the ingredients. It looks so bad. I've never showed anybody. I showed like 2 guys in the sunset game, and they're all like, yeah, you probably don't want to show that publicly. So I'll be straight with you. Not a great route to go. I like champagne, but man, you couldn't even really tell it was in there. Like the champagne almost kicked the shit out of the sunset, in my opinion. So like I said, not everything should be done. And if it looks really bad, I think sunsets were selling for like $6,500 back then, and everyone was already shitting on the project. I didn't want to give people something else to shit on, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah, but champagne's one of those genes that was a super tricky gene to work with because it would just obliterate everything. And honestly, I think one of the best champagne combos was a champagne het pied because it looked like a champagne pied.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my champagne het pieds were always heavy ringers. Didn't even really make any sense to make the pied at that point. I'm sure it would have probably been an all white steak in all honesty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the champagne pieds are pretty much all white.
Yeah. No, not everything should be done. And champagne, I mean, I liked when they did the leopard inchy champagne clowns.
Yeah.
It brought pattern out of it, and I thought that was unique. Maybe Orange Dream could have been added to that, but I just don't know if I know anybody that's going out of their way to try to stack champagne to do anything investable, I guess is the way of putting it.
A lot of people have gone away from the champagne because of the whole wobble issue.
Yeah. I don't like it that much.
But, you know, Spot Nose is on the wobble complex, so, you know.
Yeah, Spot Nose doesn't wobble on its own, though. Like, champagnes can be a little wonky just on their own. It's only when you hit the supers and the Spot Noses that you get the wonky ones. No,
for sure. I have a champagne Spot Nose over here, by the way. Ben made it, and he's so wobbly I can never sell him. You remember the old super warm-up videos that Nerd would put up, and the thing he put in his hand, it would just start fucking flopping its head over the place, and it was like
the pearl.
The pearl, yeah. Not to shit on that, but that was kind of a weird one. Sorry, puppy. Not a puppy anymore. He's got no excuses. That was one that, like, when you go back and look at what we did back then, like, you couldn't publicly make that animal and do that video anymore. Kind of like how you probably. Here's the thing. I still go back. It's still on the internet. You'd think it'd be gone by now. But the Ralph Davis video with the caramel ball python he held back that just had like the huge, like, I mean, its whole fucking spine was an accordion, but it was an adult and it was living. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't.
No, I'm gonna find that image or that video. It's like 14 years old, and I'm not shitting on it by any means, but like you couldn't get away with showing off a kinked ball python nowadays, like we were able to get away with it back then. Like it's just impossible. I think I remember, like, hell, I bought a boa with no eyes back in the day because it was cheaper and I couldn't afford a normal sunglow, so it just had to be. Now, I never made a no-eyed animal, but even back then, people would publicly show off breeding animals with no eyes, and it was just acceptable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you get people now that if you post an animal with no eyes, they message you. You'll get like 50 messages about that no-eyed animal. Yes.
It's a funny no-eyed animal. If you go to World of Ball Pythons and you look up the GHI Pie, the first one ever made had no eyes, and they submitted it and they put it up.
Really?
Yeah. Again, just different hobby nowadays. But no, I thought that was kind of wild that was on there. Let's see. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like in the Carolinas, because I kind of always say that you guys are almost your own little island in the United States when it comes to a community. And don't get me wrong, you guys do talk to the rest of us a little bit, but the North Carolina community is its own little,
yeah, it's definitely our own little group for sure. Yeah. Especially back in the day, back before pre-COVID, when all the Repticons at the Raleigh shows.
Yep. No, the Radisson, they always have that at, right?
Yeah, nothing but a drunk debauchery.
Yeah, but it's nice having people that you want to get drunk around that are always happy. Even with some people that were in our circle of friends back in the day that were a little more drama, we never really had anything crazy going on. There wasn't really any fights. I felt like every show was just the best time ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys
actually come hang out with us.
That's not true. I hang out with you guys. I just I don't make it down to the Carolinas that much. Don't put that shit on me. Is that why? Hey. there's a lot of people I don't hang out with anymore. And it's more about where I live. You guys should visit me sometimes. What? So you guys did the Charlotte show for the Plant and Reptile Expo?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What was your honest review on that show?
I think it had potential. I think the timing was a little bit off. Just with the Atlanta show, with Bob's show and all that just recently happening. There was two larger shows prior to that, so it was kind of just bad timing.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely has potential. There was a lot of great vendors there, good atmosphere, a lot of great people. I think it was just bad timing.
Great vendors, great venue, great show promoters. I almost think Raleigh might be a better market for that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think Raleigh might be a better market for it.
Yeah.
So you got the Tri-Cities over there, and I do agree that Raleigh is, population-wise, I'd have to double-check population. I do think there's good money in Pineville. I do think there's a lot of money in Charlotte in the right areas. I think Raleigh's so established. I think that it'd be silly to move into Raleigh if you're not already Repticon. They've kind of got that whole area locked down. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Most people think Repticon when you think the Raleigh show. So,
but before Repticon,
it was
Raleigh,
Gila.
Yeah, Gila. That used to be the biggest show in the Carolinas, and before we even started vending, we used to just wait for the Raleigh show to go to the show.
Yeah.
And that was back when we were really big into corns and kings, and we're just starting to kind of dabble in the ball pythons. But Gila was huge.
Yeah.
And nothing else around here was very big.
Yeah.
Right in the Carolinas, except maybe Columbia back then, which was, in my opinion, the second biggest show. And that was Repticon.
Yeah. Repticon owned the Southeast for about a decade there. Outside of the occasional Myrtle Beach show that was put on by Jay Eaton, besides, of course, the Daytona show, those were two pretty big shows. And I've always liked the Atlanta too. I thought Repticon Atlanta was always a really good show back then. I always did pretty well at it. But you guys know any show could be a roller coaster. It could be great in one and it could be awful in the next one. You never really know. But I've always really thought that downtown Charlotte or something in the city for a show would really take off. We talked with Mickey about his Fort Mill. The building sucked. It was a horrible location.
Horrible.
Yeah. And that was all I could get. And it's a bummer, but that was it just didn't work out. These guys closer to downtown Charlotte, I don't really know how people market nowadays. You guys living in Charlotte, if you guys weren't vendors, how would you have known that show was going on? Did you see any advertising?
Oh, constantly. It was all over Facebook. There was continuous just advertisement on Facebook for that show.
There was billboard signs on Highway 74 that I noticed driving into work.
Okay.
So I think they did a pretty good job of
advertising.
advertising.
Troy and Nick did a fabulous job of promoting that show. There was a lot of people through the door for sure.
So you guys said timing though. Atlanta was 1 week, or it was 1 week before that one.
It was like a week or two before that show.
And then Daytona was coming up, a week or two after it?
Yeah,
I thought it went Daytona, then Atlanta, then Charlotte.
It might have been.
I think that's what it
I think
was. Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tinley was just last weekend?
Yeah.
Or the weekend before?
Yeah. Do you like all these new shows popping up here and there? Like, it's a higher quality, but it kind of takes us away from what our roots were, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, new shows have their place, but you end up with so many shows. There's already shows like every other weekend, especially here in the Carolinas. Like Repticon does their these shows like every week. You can practically go to a show in the Carolinas.
Well, and we luck out because Billy with AHP. Anytime we want a table, we can ask. We'll usually ask him, "Hey, can we get a table?" And he's like, "Oh, absolutely." So he helps us out a lot with that, because with my job, I don't always know if I can get that weekend off until it gets closer. And a lot of times the shows might be sold out, or they might be sitting there going, "Hey, we've got plenty of ball python breeders. We don't need any more."
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like I said, if Billy's doing the show and we need a table, he's like, "Oh yeah, come on down," So we luck out on that. So
It's good to have friends. I'm last minute on things sometimes too, because I'm always looking at a few shows every weekend, which one I may or may not do. In the good old days of RepCon, you kind of make a phone call if you know somebody you might be able to get a table last minute. But once they switched to like signing on the website and actually having to get out there before someone bought all the tables out,
Yeah.
I remember that was an issue initially when RepCon made that change. Vendors were going in and like committing to 10, 20, 30, or 40 tables and then selling them to other vendors afterwards, which I thought was kind of shitty.
Yeah, there was a huge issue with that in the very beginning, because people would just go in and they would just buy everything up and then like double or triple the price of the tables just to sell them.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that was poorly. I think Baltimore was the first time I experienced that. And I think one guy literally put like one piece of wood on every table and there was just no vendors there.
Yeah.
So no, that was tough. But no, people aren't traveling as far for shows as they used to. And like you said, in the Southeast, going from Daytona, going to Atlanta, going to Charlotte, if you lived in the Southeast and you were going to go to one of those shows, you probably pick Daytona. In my opinion, I'd rather be in Florida on the beach at a show than maybe go to Charlotte or maybe go to Atlanta. But if people are only willing to drive about an hour to an hour and a half for a show, you'd be surprised how big your customer base is within 3-hour radius of a show. And a lot of those guys won't travel much further than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel that people are willing to travel a little further for a show are usually a little more willing to spend money if they went out of their way to go that far to a show.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm going to go to Daytona, I'm going to spend the money to go to Daytona.
Yeah. So, like I said, I stalked your guys' Morph market a little bit beforehand. I think Krista probably spent a little bit of time on it also. You got a lot of really great stuff for the paint project on there. A lot of head-turning animals, a lot that, in my opinion, would put people a little further ahead in the project. Do you find with that project, you sell more online than you do at the shows, or do you get surprised at these shows with other vendors coming over and spending money on the project?
No, honestly, I sell more online than I do at the shows as far as the paint project goes, because most of the people that are in this area are already in it.
That's understandable. And you guys came up to Tinley after you produced that Calico Yellow Belly paint.
Yeah.
And that was different. And don't get me wrong, I know. How did you guys feel about it that weekend? I've had a lot of bad Tinleys when I only have ball pythons on my table.
Well, I mean, so we look at it kind of like an advertisement a lot of times. Because,
especially with Tinley.
And it's funny because I've noticed that she might not sell something, for a week or two, and then we do a show, and then she gets another rush of people buying online. And I've never quite figured out what the correlation is, other than maybe they're seeing that we're going to these shows. And so if they had to get in touch with us or talk to us face to face, there's an avenue of potentially, if they absolutely had to, or maybe it makes us more
reputable.
Yeah, reputable. Less of this person trying to scam me or something like that. I don't know but I've noticed a direct correlation to, we do a show, she has more sales online. So we kind of chalk it up to advertisement. Like, we didn't do great at that Charlotte show at the show, but after the show, because of the animals that we took, it generated $1,000 animal that you sold?
Yeah.
Something like that, because of people taking pictures of that animal at that show.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's another thing is when anybody comes up, hey, can I take a picture of your animal? Absolutely. You know, take a picture of that, because then they post it up and it gets in front of more people. And, you know, if they share it, it gets in front of more people. And so
that's cool.
Yeah. Everybody marketing for each other helps out a lot. And, you know, when that new person comes out and sees that animal, like you said, and posts on their Instagram and suddenly it goes viral or gets tossed around a little bit, it is promoting for you and it's free advertising. So have you guys done like short videos with Instagram? Like, what are you guys doing to market yourself other than just making nice animals?
waiting for you to invite us on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, yes, that is. I mean, here's the thing. You guys are here for a lot of reasons. One, I've known you guys for a long time, and two, yes, you guys need to do better. Like, you guys are great, beautiful animals. Not a lot of people know about you. A lot of people know about you based on your animal. Like I said, when I brought up your clown combos at Tinley, everybody had saw them. Everybody had said they loved them, and everyone said those were probably the two best that have been done with the project so far out of the few they've seen. I do think they've liked some of the other stuff that they've seen. I think them just not knowing exactly what it is put them off a little bit. Yours, it was pretty straightforward. You guys, it was a little more simple, one gene being added, and it kind of showed people what it can go to. Like I said, when that cinnamon clown, all that side filled in on that, I love that, because we're always trying to fill in the side panel on that, and it really brings, like, who knows what that's going to look like when you put the right genes in there, like you were discussing.
Yeah.
What calico might do, so and so forth. Because calico clowns usually look like shit because there's no side panel. Now you guys are side panel out. Calico could really create some really unique pixelation around the edge of that, if that makes sense.
Could fill in fill in the alien head with white is what I would hope that it would do, or like half white.
Yeah, even the fireman or the Firemon, I think is what we call those. Fire cinnamon clown.
Yeah.
Again, the original paint had a lot of pattern. The fire paint clown, I meant to say the original paint clown had a lot of pattern. Didn't do exactly what we thought it was going to do, but it did something. The fire paint clown kind of reduced the pattern down a little bit, but when you look at a fire clown, it's kind of expected. The cinnamon, it did more, like I said. I thought maybe the teardrops on the side would look a little bit better. I didn't think it would completely knock it or completely blow out the sides of all that pattern. So again, we always talk about this like it's a canvas, a unique canvas to work on. And that's honestly one of the hardest things about being a pied guy. You're working with less canvas. That simple combo gave you more canvas to work on. And I think when a lot of people are looking at stuff, they get inspired by knowing they can still add to it, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah.
So I think that animal, I think you guys should show that animal off a lot. I think every time that thing sheds out, I think you should zoom in on the sides. I think you should really hype up on that one alone. I think what you guys do with cinnamon paint clowns, the color it's going to bring to the table when you get some orange in there, you guys should put inch in there and fuck it up a little bit, though.
No.
What the one of the next genes we want to try to put into it, I don't know if you've seen or she's shown you much of our wrecking ball stuff.
You guys showed me the wrecking ball early on. I put you in touch with a good friend of mine in the hobby that invested with you guys in that project.
Yeah. But that likes to bring an orange in, and we made a spot nose wrecking ball clown, and it's got a lot of pixelation in it on the sides and stuff like that. So we're thinking about maybe moving that into that, and
okay.
I think it would work pretty good. But
I think that's a good way of taking it. All in the comments of this video, we'll put some wrecking balls pictures in there. Wrecking balls, another project they're working with.
Yeah.
That one was just a import or a collection you bought, and it was just a female in there that happened to be.
No, it was an import we bought. She was one of two that we purchased online. That was just a fancy normal.
Okay. Was that Outback Reptiles?
No, it was another company along the lines of Outback, but it wasn't Outback.
Okay.
It was back when you could buy like, you know, the fancy normals or like the bags of wild caught ones.
Okay.
But
By the way,
what's weird on that project, and I know we didn't send you pictures, but we've got a second pied that every time she sheds, she's losing color and it's turning black. And so we have one that did it, and she looks like a panda pied, but she started out really orange and black. She was a fire wrecking ball pied and really bright orange. And then about a year old, every time she'd shed, she'd lose a little bit of color. And it started out by her tail and worked all the way up to her head. And we've got a second one that's doing it that you need to send them pictures.
Yeah.
all right. I'll send you some pictures. Chris, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like, so we've made a few pies that have gone all black. And I believe Daniel Allison had a inchy pied, maybe pastel also, that he used to post pictures of that went all black.
I think I've seen some. I've seen some. I don't know if it's genetic versus like a. I don't know what the exact genetic term for it would be, but something that's happening just with that animal, like
an increased melanin gene,
like a vitiligo, like with us, you know, where it's like actual like pigmentation that's happening there.
Well, how about this, Grant and Mary? I'm going to guess and say that animal that's turning black is a female.
Yeah.
All right. So all of mine are always females too.
Really?
I don't know why. Every single pied or het pied that turned black was a female.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So these are like the one female that did it first. She's actually more like it's like a gunmetal blue color. It's not actually black.
Could be a sex linked thing, and then maybe on the
maybe a sex link thing. I think I heard somebody say it could be some kind of hormonal color change because with mine, I think it started happening around like 600, 800 grams, roughly. Year and a half old. All of a sudden, one shed looked a little bluer, looked a little lighter gray, and then jet black.
That's exactly what those are.
That would make sense. Especially, I mean, with chondros, they have a hormonal blue thing, right, too.
So, were you able to breed those females? Did they breed just fine, or?
Oh, man, people give me so much money for them, I keep selling them. I haven't seen that project through. I have two animals still here for that. A pastel inchy pie that's jet black, heavy in pattern. And I have a pastel yellow belly het pied female that also turned all black. I've had male banana het pies with hidden gene woma in there one time that turned like a light blue. And if you guys, this is just you guys I'm talking to, but everybody, Russus Reptiles had what he was calling frost banana pies, where they turn this like light bluish gray. I have a couple of those here, but I don't think those are necessarily why we had those other animals pop up, because we made about 7 of them that have gone black on us, but they were either always visual pied, pet pied, and every one of ours, I believe, had pastel in the mix also. I don't think we ever had one make that color change and not have pastel in the mix.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet it's a hormonal makes sense.
Yeah.
It could be. So, and I'll try to find out some pictures. I unfortunately, they're not on this phone. I know I sent them to somebody, but I'll post a couple and I'll send them to you guys when we get done. But if I had a male, because here's the thing about this project, what I've looked at is I think the calico retic's the same way. I don't think you know your retic's a calico until it's like a few years old. So with this project to be the same way, how do you sell it until it makes that color change?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could really, go ahead.
What worries me is what if who you sold it to is upset that it started changing like that? You know, like, I mean, I don't think many people would be, but
I don't think many people would, should, or could. I think that it's pretty cool. Kind of like, you know, the gene that floats around in Stormtrooper, or the Stormtrooper kind of like made that really like, it looked like it got a lot of more black pigment the older it got.
Yeah.
I don't think John's been able to reproduce that one yet, but I kind of wondered if what was doing that in that animal might be something similar to ours. But I think his Stormtrooper might have been a male, but I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think it was a no. The Stormtrooper was a female.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah,
so another female.
he's been trying to breed her for the last couple of years. She just hasn't gone. I thought he said that she ovulated, but I never saw anything with eggs, so I don't know though.
Interesting.
Female as well.
Whatever this is, like I said, if you could have a male, if anybody ever has a male, that'll be a game changer. And somebody literally just posted in one of the ball python groups or enthusiast groups on Facebook yesterday a pied that is turning black on them. So they're out there, and I think it was blue steel. The hypo, yeah, that was another one. The hypo pies that turned that, like, that I think was the same exact gene that we're dealing with. I just don't know if all those were females or not.
Yeah, wasn't the blue steel Bob's?
Bob was a blue steel, man. We've had, I think, something that looks like it's blue steel-like pop out of our hypopies also. And I've got a baby in the room right now that came out of a recent hypopie clutch. I think it's going to be a blue steel. It was the last egg to pip, and when we looked it in the egg, it looked like an underdeveloped ball python. It came out. I thought it was going to die. It had no color pigment, and then by the time it got out of the incubator, all of a sudden it had all these little, like, it had a little more pattern showing through. You guys know how, like, sandblast will influence a pied?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going on there. I think sandblast is also in the mix on that one. And it kind of has that, like, 2, 3, 4-tone color. But I'll take a picture of that one too. That might be a blue steel, and I'll double check the sex on it. That might be a female also. Yeah, I just got the shout across the room. It is a female. So there could be something hormonal. It could be something sex linked, like you were saying. I just don't know how you market it. If RGI can pull that gene out of there, if we know it's all the same one, we can always test our sheds and guarantee they're going to turn black on us. But until we can breed two visuals together and hold back every baby to make sure it happens, this could be just something random that happens in the hobby.
I hope it's not, but I that was kind of our suspicion, that it's just like a random thing. At first, I was like wondering if it was maybe some organ failure and they're not uptaking some nutrient from prey that they need. But then we had two that are kind of
loosely related.
They're pretty closely related. So the one, the first one, the father who made her is the son who made the other one.
Okay.
So they're not far off, but
Yeah.
then again, it's a recessive project. So a lot of times in a recessive project, a lot of them are not far off.
No. But so, like I mentioned, though, I've had non-visual pieds that were het pied do this whole change also. So I don't think it has to always be a visual, and I know it doesn't always have to be a visual pied to make this color change. But it seems to help if it's at least heifer pied.
Yeah.
But no, man, I really wish I had that picture on me right now. All right, guys. So this podcast is coming out on Friday. I think you and I should both post pictures of our animals Friday morning on our business page. Everybody go jump on Custom Scales, go over to Wrecking Ball. You'll see what we're talking about if you're curious. But it's, man, if you could repeat that over and over again, I love that. I love those animals. Bree likes them more than me. Yeah.
Especially, like, I wish you could find a way to stop them mid-change, because I think that's when they're the coolest.
Okay.
Transitioning into it halfway.
Yeah.
Interesting. I do believe I like the whole color progression in that. You're right. If it stopped halfway through, I wouldn't complain. It would still make a beautiful animal. But those jet blacks and whites as an adult, it's better than any Xanthic I've ever seen outside the Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So, Krista, we're jamming into what's going to be our last 10 minutes, and I monopolized the first hour and 50. Was there anything leading up to this or anything in this conversation you want to go back to? Anything you thought about?
I'm trying to think.
A lot of pressure.
The biggest was just knowing, the directions or what genes that you guys have used that you haven't liked so well, or ones that you really like. I think we've covered
Okay.
most of those.
You guys want to talk about power feeding? How
Sure.
fast are you going to get that acid up to size that doesn't even exist yet? Like, is that thing going to be breeding in a couple months? I can put you in
Yes,
charge
absolutely. I'm just gonna just shove. Yeah. No.
every day. Give Chad a call. He puts protein shakes in with his animals, and that's actually helping out a lot also.
Yes. Yeah. I knew there was a secret.
Yeah, he injects it right into the rat and then gives it right to the ball python. But
Actually,
about
Woolbanks did a thing on the Morph Market community page where he talked about basically just feeding the baby balls just like one small pinky every single day, and that's how he got his up to size within like 6 months.
without
He got a
naming
lot
names,
for it, but that's the way he would. That's the way he did it. Was, and a lot of people, like, oh, that's power feeding. That's horrible for the animals. And
I think it's hard to overfeed. I mean, I know it can be done, but I think it's much harder to overfeed a ball python than, say, like a llama or a boa that has a lot higher feed drive than a ball python.
You can definitely stuff a llama python.
yeah. I've always said that ball pythons are kind of bulletproof. I don't know if I've read anything that talks about any organ development not going, or I've never heard of like a ball python being power fed, opening up, any extra fat, like you said, any organ development issues. I haven't heard anything like that. And
there's tons of speculation out there, but I don't think there's actually been any full studies on it.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people, if they just find it dead, then they don't really do necropsy right, so we don't really know.
Yeah, there could be that too. I knew a guy that got a banana clown up to breeding size in 45 days one time. Was it 45 days? It was 3 months. I'm sorry, 90 days. I put half that up.
45 days. Like,
yeah, maybe it was 95 days, but
a mouse in there or something.
It was a mouse a day. I think every day offered it a mouse. And I've never, what it is? It's not that I'm not into power feeding. I never have enough rodents to go around to power feed my shit. Like I've never had such a surplus that everyone gets 5 meals, if that makes sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure there's probably some repercussions or some issues. And I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but with the trends in the ball python hobby changing so often, I don't think anybody still has an animal that they power fed 10 years ago still in their collection today. I feel like every 5 years we move on from certain breeding stock just because, again, lack of relevance because how fast things are moving.
Yeah. Well, you have to keep constantly changing over your collection at some point because you have to move up stuff that's better, that you've bred yourself, that you're trying to move into, and just make space for more better things, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I plan on doing, is kind of recycling the sooner rather than later type of thing.
You have to get rid of those single gene girls that you're no longer using that are just sitting there taking up tub space for stuff that has 3, 4, 5 genes in it, or recessives or whatever.
Unless it's got sentimental value. We've got a bumblebee out there that we don't breed anymore, but we won't get rid of because she was the first female that we ever hatched that we then grew up to breed again. So, she was born here and then gave us babies, and it's a sentimental thing that she eats up a tub that we could probably use, but sometimes the sentimental value outweighs the monetary, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got some silly animals out in that building that honestly are just weird ones that Ben made. I think one, when I got there on the label, just said and it's like, exactly, and it looks like a cow retic in a way, but in a ball python. But it's a champagne combo. It might have spot nose in it. It might be a gargoyle. it might be pastel, it might be a couple other things, and it's a little bit wobbly, of course. But it's really one of those one-of-a-kind animals. And even like the bonfire, that black pastel spider inchy calico, that red animal, I still have him out there. I just never bred him. I don't know why. Maybe the spider thing. I get a little psyched out about all the spider hate, but in all honesty, I don't really see a problem in making spiders.
Yeah.
So we made a bongo spider, was it last year?
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how much the bongo influenced the pattern on the spider.
Yeah.
I was shocked when she showed me, and I was just like, wow, I've never seen anything alter the spider pattern. And it's not crazy. You can still tell it's spider, but it almost looks like it's ripping open the spider pattern.
Yeah.
Jumping around because we're talking spiders, I think it was Tallgrass at Tinley one year when they had the first blackhead spiders, and it made it look like a normal ball python again, which I thought was the most peculiar thing ever.
Yeah.
And I think the only way they could ID it is because it wobbled.
Oh wow.
But blackhead and spider, are those are allelic, right?
Yeah.
I think they're in the same complex. So
Yeah, they're supposed to be allelic. I don't know if anybody's actually proven that out or not, but
I think maybe. I don't know. I think we had to have at this point. I got to look at it. I've got a little chart that shows everything that's allelic at this point, and I know like what chocolate, blackhead, spot nose, spider. Did I say cypress?
But how long did we breed? Did we have cinnamon and inchy before we knew that was allelic?
yeah.
I love that point, and I made that point before. But I think the problem was ball python people didn't have a allelic in their vocabulary yet, so they couldn't comprehend. They just thought they were getting perfect odds, just nothing but cinnamons, nothing but inchies. But no, once we learned it, now everything's allelic. And even cryptic and clown being allelic, I thought that was kind of crazy because I thought at first the cryptic was being advertised as a codom.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's been any other recessive allelics in ball pythons, right?
No. Not that I can think of.
Yeah, Candy and albino.
Oh yeah.
That's allelic.
Yeah,
And
one of the first ones. The OG in the community, buddy. Yeah, no, that was a good one. And that was funny too, how that all played out because the moment I think how that broke down was a breeder in Canada had a het toffee and he was asking nothing for it. This is back when toffees and candies were tens of thousands of dollars. And I think he put that head up for just a couple $100. Breeders up there talked about getting it off the market to do it. They didn't. And the guy that bought that animal was the first one to breed it to a albino and prove him out to be allelic. And then the project fell apart overnight. So if somebody would have bought that $200 animal, they probably could have kept the value up in the candy and toffees for at least another few years, I guess. How about this? So, Grant and Mary, do you guys have any shows you're finishing out the year with, or is your show season over?
No, we got a Repticon Raleigh in November, sometime in November.
Yeah, at the end of November we'll do the Raleigh one, but I think after that we're done.
Okay, tight. Well, Krista, if you don't have anything else to fit in, I think we could probably wrap this up on them. Keep it in that 2-hour range.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I can end the recording. It was great. I had a great time listening to I'm so new a year, so listening to the older stuff that's been happening in the past and going down memory lane was really, really cool. And I really enjoyed this conversation with the pain. I'm excited for that project and seeing where it goes. So
I'm glad. This was nice. Like I said, we couldn't have done it if it wasn't all of us together today, and I appreciate you making time for that. Well, Grant and Mary, honestly, I've been talking to you ever since I started doing podcasts. Eventually, I'd have you on. 4 years later, we finally did it. But honestly, I think it was really good timing. Like I said, I've always been a big fan of your guys' work. I think you guys have been behind the scenes cool for a long time, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
But I really hope that I'm going to start trying a little harder. I'm going to keep talking about you guys. I know you guys have a lot of good stuff coming up. Everybody go check it out. And here's something to keep in. Here's my last pitch on the paint project. You never know when these things are really going to blow up. and the price is not going to be coming down anytime soon because the demand's there. And if anything, it might actually still go up a little bit. I think in the next 6 months, we're going to see some other combos pop up around the industry. I know there's a few guys that makes cooking that I talk to that could be doing something that we've never seen before. And all it takes is that one really good combo for a project to blow up. So don't sleep on it, guys. It might cost you a lot more to get into it later. And then on top of that, get into it now, and you're not going to have to watch everybody else do it for you. So keep paying in consideration. Lots to do in that project. Well, Rec Room ball pythons are no, just Rec Room, right? Just Rec Room. Go check, yeah, perfect. Go check out Grant and Marianne Rec Room. They're going to start posting a lot more now that they're going to become a little more popular. And you know, like I said,
work on that. I definitely need to work on posting more to Instagram. I just hate it.
It's hard. Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't understand all the hashtag stuff. That just I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
I used to just copy and paste like a general 10 good hashtags and then add 3 more to the bottom, and that's the only way I was able to do Instagram because I hate the hashtag thing. But we got to do it, guys. We're selling ball pythons and we're trying to make a living doing it, and I don't want to see this pass. You know, I love the paint. I think it's time to go paint. All right, guys. Well, again, I appreciate everybody who came out. Krista, thank you for helping me out this week. And Grant and Mary, again, thank you guys for making time. We will do another one of these next year because I am going to want to follow up because in the next year, I think there's going to be a lot more to talk about with the paint project.
Yeah.
All right. Well, peace out, guys. Keep an eye in the comments. We're going to be posting some pictures from this podcast, everything we showed. And Krista, same thing with you. Pop this on Instagram. Look in the comments. She'll be posting all the combos, and we'll have all the breeders' information on there too. We used some pictures. We didn't give you guys a shout out. It's not that we don't love you. The writing was this small on the screen. I didn't prepare enough, but we will give you guys shout outs in the comments.
Sounds good.
All right.
Peace out, everybody.